city of Detroit was built on patterns. Literally. Tread patterns, traffic patterns, drum patterns. Lots of those patterns are in plain sight. But there are others you will never find until you look closer. Detroit versus everybody began because we saw our city falling into a pattern. A pattern where all our accomplishments, achievements, and excellence kept getting ignored, pushed aside.
All right. What's up, guys? So I want to go through this sync placement I did. This is a couple years ago. Just kind of give a breakdown of like the process for those who aren't super familiar with it. I know sync is something that's getting, has gotten a lot more popular. I hear people talking all the time about wanting to get into sync, wanting to get sync placements and all that kind of stuff. Now, this is not a video about how to get sync placements. The only advice I could give you is to learn how to make friends, because everything that I've gotten in my career has been off my relationships, from building, over the past 20 years, building real, like solid, authentic relationships, genuine relationships with people. And if you do that, that'll keep you working, and opportunities like this will just kind of like, be drawn to you because the people in your life will want to work with you, right? Especially when you're good at what you do. So I just wanted to get that out the way first. Now I just want to talk about the process a little bit of like, okay, you get something like this, right? How do you even start coming up with ideas of like what to send back? Because it can be somewhat nerve-wracking. Like it can be some pressure involved in that because you're basically just like being judged by a bunch of strangers, right? What they do is they send you this video with a dummy track, a reference track. Okay. Now the reference track will give you clues to like what they want, but you have to keep in mind that they don't really know what they want, right? They just kind of know that there's a feeling, and so you can follow the reference track to an extent, but if you do something that sounds like the reference track, it needs to be like extremely elevated from what was in the reference. Okay. So how I usually approach it is whatever my first thought is, right? I just do like an idea dump. Right. I just sit down. I look at the visual. I watch it all the way through. And then I'll sit down and I'll just create the first thing that comes to my head. Right now, in this case, I did listen to the reference. But first, let's just kind of like go through and just see some of the visuals. Right. You kind of like, I'm going to turn the volume off and just look at the visual. It's very modern. It's very artistic. Right. And then this car was really the thing that was giving me the inspiration of what I wanted it to sound like. Right. You see, like, it's got the Gucci like print all in the car. It's an old school, like, this car is dope. And so I wanted to kind of embody that with the music. It kind of was giving me like diamond in the back, sun rooftop type of vibes. I wanted it to feel like that. But obviously with this being Detroit, which is where I'm from, something like this, it immediately took me to like Dilla kind of vibes. Right. So, let's see. So I'm gonna play you the first idea. Right. And so that you can see what the process was like, because I basically, what I ended up with became a kind of a merging of the reference and my first idea, neither of which I like. So here's the reference right here.
The city of Detroit was built on patterns, literally. Tread patterns, traffic patterns, drum patterns.
Right. Not my cup of tea. All right. So but it did kind of let me know what they were leaning towards, right? Like you hear the drums, it's like old school hip hop, grungy Dilla inspired drums, but it's also kind of funky. So I understood a little bit of what they wanted, right? So this was the first idea that I sat down and made. I didn't, yeah. Okay, here we go. Okay, so there was some cool like elements to this, I thought, but it was too disjointed. Like it didn't have it didn't move the right way, especially considering the movement in the video, and a lot of the stuff, a lot of those cuts and things they added after they got the music from me, because what they basically do is once they get the music, they might have a kind of the bones of the visual, and then once you give them the music, they'll cut and edit the video to the BPM that you created it at. Now they might have some BPMs already in mind, or kind of like some guidelines as far as tempo. But honestly, when I made this, like I remember getting the tempo right kind of instinctively. And it was already kind of matching to some of the cuts they already had. So, okay, so let me get out of this and go to the actual version that ended up making it. I never even like sent that to them. That didn't even, it didn't even make it that far. Okay, here we go. So I'm gonna just go through this and break it down, play it first. Okay, cool. So honestly, this wasn't even what I started with, because the first thing I had was with this little keys part right here. But like if you listen to that with this, like you can hear it's just kind of, it's cool. It's still cool, but it's too much, right? You don't want to, when you're doing sync, the music isn't meant to take away from the visual, right? You want to kind of set the bed for the visual. So minimal is always better. So what I ended up doing is kind of putting some of this pattern into the keys, but I let the keys only go every couple bars, right? I had 2 bars with the sample, and then I switched to the keys, and then went back to the sample, and then switched same pattern but with a different sound, like a bell sound, right? So let me show you, and I'm gonna break down the sample after this. So it gives it some movement, some interest, and then brings it back with more simple. And the bells, I felt like gave me that like kind of 70s, like old school pimp, type of vibe. So this sample right here, let's take a look at this. I don't even remember where I got this from. But this is what it sounds like. And actually, that's tempo synced. And the original tempo it sounds like this. So it kind of was giving me that vibe I wanted. I just had to match it to what I was doing. And so I tempo synced it, right? Got it in sync, and then I threw halftime on there. And halftime just did exactly that. It just slowed it down, gave it kind of like a cool. So you could hear kind of like, you can hear the guitar moving from side to side, which I didn't even necessarily intentionally like, I didn't intend for it to do that. But it was super cool. It just kind of moves on its own and gives it just gives it more personality, really, of its own personality. And then this bass is really what's giving a lot of movement too. This is another sample. I just played it. So I can show you because it's Serato sample too. I just put it in, put Serato sample in key mode so that I can actually play the sample up a scale. And that's exactly what I did. Right. So I liked the texture of how this bass sounded. So I felt like it sounded better than it would have if I would have tried to just use a software synth bass. And I liked the movement that it had. It just sounded great. And it actually gave me a space to put my vinyl texture. Because I put RC20 on here to kind of tone it down a little bit. And filter some of the top end off. And then I was able to get my vinyl in here. So that's given the whole track texture. You can hear it. You can hear the vinyl texture in the back, but it gives it that old school feel that I'm looking for. And then the last piece was just this Logic stock organ that I just used under everything. And I put like a side chain kind of pump effect on there. And it just kind of gives this like almost mysterious, like eerie, it just makes everything more edgy. It brings everything together. And the drums, it's literally just a kick and a snare, bro. It's just a kick and a snare. And I went straight to my J Dilla kit because I already knew. Kick, snare. I think I got another kick in there too. And that's it. And I think I brought this in, this hi-hat, little hi-hat thing. I bring that in towards the end. So it kind of builds, you know. It's simple. Right, so that was a cool little thing I threw in there that I actually matched to the visual because I was watching this part right here. You see when the little drum pad came up, it went da da da, and so I matched it to the beat that he actually did in the video. You can hear it.
Drum patterns.
Let me back it up a little bit.
Tread patterns, traffic patterns, drum patterns. Lots of those patterns.
Yeah, so that was just like a little touch, little detail I wanted to throw in there I thought was cool. And this original keys pattern that I had in here, I actually ended up throwing it in right here. Right, so as it's building in this second section, it kind of like more elements are starting to creep in. The keys are doing more. Then I got this little lead sound right here that pops in. It's giving it more mystery, More rhythm with the hi-hat. It's like a symphony, but it's controlled though. And this is just like a little break where he says something at the end, and then it comes back in for the outro. And that's it. You know, that's pretty much how the process goes. You know, I would send this to them. Honestly, this was the easiest I ever had because they loved it like right off the bat. And so there wasn't a lot of revisions. There really wasn't any edits or anything like that. Like it was pretty much, you know, I sent it, they loved it. And I felt like it just matched everything so perfect. Obviously they did too. So yeah, but in a lot of cases, what will happen is you'll send stuff over and they'll ask you to change this or change that, or maybe, you know, whatever kind of notes they have. That part can be a little frustrating. But usually by the time you're sending revisions, you've already gotten paid. So, you know, that can like hold you over to deal with the frustration is that, hey, at least I got this nice check. So yeah, and that, you know, that's pretty much it. You know, one of the main things that I feel like I wanted to stress in this video is like the importance of sound design. Because if you look at everything I did in there, even the samples and the elements that I took that weren't originally played by me, I made them my own, right? I created some type of texture, some type of something to make it unique, right? And that is at the heart, I think, of what music production is supposed to be. I think the reason why some people are so threatened by like AI music and stuff like that is because, you know, if you're one of those people that feels that way, feels like AI is unfair, it's probably because you make generic music. And that's not a knock or criticism. We all have our journey and, you know, and our roles, and, you know, we learn, we have our own process of like becoming the type of creator that we want to be in life and in music. And so if that's where you are, it just means that, like myself, I've never felt threatened by AI. I've never listened to an AI created, you know, song and been like, oh man, been sweating. Like I've never heard anything that sounds remotely close to something I feel like I'm capable of doing, because I spent 20 years learning how to craft my sonic world. You know what I mean? And so if you're somebody that wants to learn how to do that, we do have an academy, professional development type of academy where we teach sound design and you know, music production techniques, and just not really like beginner stuff, but more techniques to elevate what you're doing. If you're somebody who's already out here kind of doing, you know, doing production and working with artists, or, you know, selling beats or whatever it is that you're doing, and you want to kind of take what you're doing to another level and learn how to do some of the things that like I showed in this video, we do have a resource for that. You can hit the link in the description. It's there if you need it. So I hope this helped, man. I'm gonna get back to doing some work, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.